Good Friday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel that talks about all my cars and trucks and SUVs, the motorcycles, the dogs, the Kiefer, yeah, the motorcycles, the campers. Wow, it's already Friday morning. Beyond unbelievable. Hey, good morning. Good Friday morning there to all those that watch my channel. Hope everybody's having a blessed Friday morning as you get ready for the big adventure on the weekend, right? Is that the idea? Friday, thank God it's Friday. Is that the saying? TGIF. Oh my goodness, you are on the never-ending ice age man, never-ending antics of buying something yet again. It just doesn't end. When does it all end? I don't know. It's out of control. I know. If you watch my channel, it's like, this guy's out of control, beyond out of control. Here's a Honda Afro Twin that sincerely yesterday morning I told you I wouldn't buy. I really wasn't going to buy it. But then I saw the thing in person, rode the thing, and I'm like, I got to have this thing. It is so much fun. Oh my gosh, it just doesn't end, does it? And so here we are on the morning conversations on how I try to bring a word of the day to entertain you on thoughts and ideas and views. And I thought to myself, we've had the week of sharing that that was Monday. Then we had the Tuesday of a race. Wednesday was about having babies. Thursday was about the best of the best. So I thought, wow, Friday, I guess we could cap it off with the worst of the worst. So I thought to myself, oh, the phone has its own attitude. It just turned off. It's just this phone. I'll tell you what, well, you realize we're not anybody out there making these YouTube videos. It's a lot of work. It is so much work. Why do I do it? I mean, really, why do I do it? I don't know. Well, as crazy as I am, I guess you can probably say, yeah, I get it. You're just crazy, dude. I am. For all the amount of work I put into this thing, yeah. Here's a penny for your thoughts, Mr. Iceman on YouTube, the YouTube world. So yeah, the worst. We all have stories of the worst of the worst. I'm sure everybody can raise their hand and share a story of that. But here's pretty cool, kind of breaking the worst conversation. Here is the Chevy Corvette, where you have to have a special battery tender. It's actually pretty creative. This is actually plugged into an accessory socket right here. It's hard to see. But anyways, you have, no, Kiefer, get out. Get away from my car, man. Jesus Christ. It just doesn't end, man. This dog here, he just wants to destroy everything I own. It's bad. So anyways, that is designed. The only way you can battery tender your car is by, to get to the battery in his car is not that simple. So Chevy was smart on the fact that they made it so you could do an accessory sock in the back of it that intertwines into your battery in this special little battery tender that's $150. Yeah, we know that story. Now lets the battery be charging, because as much as my cars sit, if I didn't have these things all on battery tenders, there's no way I would be coming out here and to be dead car. So everything I own, for the most part, is plugged in. And now the Chevy Corvette, I remember that years ago, but I kind of forgot about it. So that's a pretty cool way to keep the car on the battery tender. Then we got the Chevy Colorado, which I'm doing all the talk and information. It's intriguing, because think about this. Here you have a Maroni, whatever you call these damn sticker things here, named after that senator out of Alabama. Here, when you buy a car, when you go to buy a car, this is typically attached to the window as you walk over here. So typically it's inside the window of the car on one of the side of the vehicles, and you're able to look at the price of the car and all the accessories and everything else. What color it is, how many, it's an 8-speed automatic. Then it tells you all about the warranty, the performance, and then it goes through all the different safety things, and it also does the options, which gets you up to like a total price of $62,000, because there's a base price of $46,800. So there's $13,640 of add-ons. And a gentleman's saying that in this Colorado, if you hold down the cruise control icon here in the steering wheel, this will go to adaptive cruise control, but I don't see adaptive cruise control as an option on this. So I'm very intrigued this morning to see how factual it is. So if you're kind of want to hang out with me for a second, which you always have no choice. Oh my gosh, it is so hard to get into this vehicle. Oh my gosh. That's why I'm getting steps. So I'm going to start it up. And I'm going to do, this gentleman claims that if you hold down this long enough, this turns on the adaptive cruise control. So already the icon is there. So I'm going to take it off. So now, I hate this. Washer fluid. Can you believe this? I just can't believe how these service these cars. So here, I'm going to hold it down. And he claims another icon pops up for the adaptive cruise control. But what I'm thinking though is, I know in my other vehicles, you can have the adaptive cruise control on, or you can have the adaptive cruise control off. So my guess is he has a vehicle that has the adaptive cruise control, and because I'm holding down the button, nothing's happening. Let's see if this does anything. I don't know how that would. That's gap adjust. Watch the car take off as I'm sitting here. So anyways, I think he's if you're watching my channel, I don't know if you're watching my morning conversations, but I think that he has adaptive cruise control, and yes, you can turn that off and on. So if you don't want to have adaptive on, so I don't see that, and it's not on the sheet either. So I don't think that person's correct. But the good news is, people try to help others out, and they reach out and they try to share with us. Come on, Keith, get that out of there. It's just, you're such the goofball, man. Yeah, it's such the goofball dog. So, but I thought to myself as well, what's interesting here is, when you buy a motorcycle, you don't get per se, I mean you do, like at the Harley dealership, they'll have something hanging off the handlebars, but it's not like this Honda Africa Twin. One guy's funny. He's like, hey, you got a Honda Africa Twin, but you're not going to find the other one in your barn. You know, get it? Twin, hello? I was like, all right, you're silly. And I got the tie-down strap still on that, which Jack helped me out yesterday, get this thing in the back of that Bison truck, which that was impressive. I didn't think that would probably happen. I was concerned I'd have to go back today to get it. So anyways, you don't get like a sticker that breaks down on how this Honda Africa Twin is different from the other Honda Africa Twins, meaning this is a higher end, and I've owned so many of these, and I actually had the lower end, but after riding it, the suspension sucked, and I really didn't like it, and I got rid of it, and I got the higher end. Because in the Honda Africa Twin, as you can see, paraphernalia, got the hat, got the look, right? Do I, with the brown coffee mustache? You're probably guys, you're probably like, where's the worst conversations? Well, you know, I have some pretty cool new stuff here, so I got to talk about it. So on the Honda Africa Twin, this is the highest end adventure sport. They call it the sport side, where it gives you electronic suspension, and it gives you the smaller front tire now, which I think is good. And it gives you the DCT. There's no shifter thing there. So, but once again, there isn't like a piece of paper that's attached to this, like a car, that shows you all the what's added on to it. Why this motorcycle would be like a base bike, it'd be probably like 15, 16 grand. And then this becomes an $18,000 motorcycle. Well, it's because you have the electronic suspension in it. You have the DCT. You just have some different components in this series here to make it more expensive. And apparently now, the lower end is a tubeless tire as well. I mean, it was incredible how one of my first adventure bikes I had, non-tubeless, got a screw in it, and I had a flat tire, and I had to, I mean, it was just incredible. That, you know, that it was like, oh my gosh. And when you have a tube tire, once you get a screw in it, you got to take the tire off and replace the tube. It isn't like you can patch that. You can't patch it because it's a tubed tire. So anybody out there that buys a motorcycle with a tube in the tire, don't think when you pull over the side of the road, you can get your patch kit out and fix it. You can't. You got to take the whole tire wheel apart. So that's not so great. I like the 90-degree angle inflators for the inflation for the tires. Hey, Kiefer, isn't he funny? So anyways, just incredible. For those that are watching my channel, I'm sure many of you are like, man, I can't believe it. The guy yesterday was saying he's probably not going to buy it. And I'm right. I really was like, I don't need to buy it. I don't need to add yet another motorcycle to my fleet. I don't disagree. Yeah. Am I out of control? Yeah. My wife, that's what she says. Like, you're just out of control. Even my friend, Chris, like, you're out of control. You're a mess. Yeah. Well, right. I know. Yeah. It's just, my gosh. Right. It's just unbelievable how the deals get pulled off. And yeah, and yesterday they totally put this deal together with just the they really figured I was taking the bike. So I would have gone there yesterday and I would have walked off, or I would have even called them and said, I don't want it. They'd have been like, really? Wow, we did the whole deal. Everything's in place. Tags are on, everything's done. And wow, we're going to get the insurance card over to those guys. They forgot about that yesterday. I'm sure about that. If I start the bike up, all the dogs will start going nuts, even though the bike really does sound good. We should do that, right? We got to do that because it's the bike. Look at this here. I mean, there's so much technology in this thing. I love how it goes to neutral, and here it goes. Had a little bit of a bump there, didn't it? So there's the rumble of the Honda Afro Twin, and it's just that good old Honda built engine, man. I mean, what is it about Honda? They just make such a quality product. I mean, they really do. These are things that if you took care of it, this thing would be around forever. I mean, it really would be. It'd be pretty incredible. And all the different functions that you got. You can create your own user mode. I mean, so it really is pretty cool. You can just make it so much personal to you. You can make it so you can take the traction control off. There's a lot of things that you can do that, let's see here, chore, urban, gravel, off-road. So there's just so much on how you, in the accessories. Yeah. All right, I started talking about that yesterday. So anyways, moving on to the worst. And I think to myself, in all my adventures in my life of buying so many cars and trucks and motorcycles, I do have stories for some of the worst buying experiences in my life. And you know what sticks in my head to this day is a guy named Jimmy George and his stepbrother, Jerry Yoniker. These are two guys. I met Jimmy George at Jimmy Klein's. It used to be Klein Toyota in Tyson's Corner before Jimmy Coons bought out Klein. I think Jimmy Klein died. But it used to be Klein Toyota in Tyson's Corner, a killer gold mine Toyota store up there in Vienna, Virginia. And when I was just a kid out of high school and getting my career going, I always wanted a Toyota pickup truck. That was one of my favorite things. I always wanted a Toyota pickup truck to look like that, all lifted up with big tires on it and everything. So I'll never forget being at that dealership, like on a Friday evening, and it had to be like at least 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And these people know these stories that are car salespeople, that you live at these dealerships. And so anyways, I'm in that dealer, and a guy's trying to get a deal done, like just a desk over. And this short guy comes up that's, at my age, I would say he's probably in his 40s, bald, and he starts screaming at the sales guy about how stupid he is in front of the customer, about how stupid he is about getting this deal done for what other person's going to buy. I mean, it was the worst. I've never ever in my whole life have witnessed being in a dealership, and he was probably like the general sales manager or whatever position, and he's going off on one of the employees in front of everybody, and he's screaming and yelling, foul language. I was like, oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I never knew down the road. I met another guy that worked at the Honda store here in Leesburg. So now you fast forward like 10 years later, and I meet this guy named Jerry Yoniker, who that's his like stepbrother. I'm like, oh my gosh. And yeah, and get this. So then I kind of get to know this guy, Jerry Yoniker, from buying Toyotas up at the Leesburg Toyota store here so many years ago, back in the 90s. And to this day, I'll never forget on how I got my wife a BMW 3 Series for her. And it was a car that had been in a major accident. And I didn't know that. And he knew me. I mean, so he'd known me now for at least 10 years. And I'd bought Toyotas off and on from him over the many years. And I go to his dealership, and he just got in this really pretty nice 3 Series, 2-door BMW, manual transmission. And I buy it for my wife. And it isn't until just really, I've had the car for like a week, I can definitely tell this car has been in a major crash. And to this day, it's like, oh my gosh, the worst. It's like, dude, you were kind of like a friend to me because I came to you. Anybody know these stories? So this guy, Jerry Yoniker, what's really crazy is I meet the guy again when I buy a Honda Civic Type R. These birds are noisy, aren't they? A Honda Civic Type R out at Miller Toyota out there in Winchester, Virginia. And oh my gosh, this guy was such the athletic guy that I knew when I was younger. And he's in a cane. He's walking around, and his health is deteriorated like you can't believe. I don't know. And I'd run into people, and I'd be like, yeah, something just ain't right about that guy. But anyways, really for me, one of the worst of the worst ever stories of me buying something goes to Lustine Ram Dodge Jeep down in Woodbridge, Virginia. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable what I went through back in like 2012. I believe it was 2012. I bought, and I went through tough times back in 2008, 9, 10. And until you go through tough times, you then figure out, people don't like you no more, and people don't give you no money. Now what's going on down here? There's like an accident across the way. It just doesn't end, man. It's incredible. Last night there was some helicopter flying over my house. People say that was all about, it looked like a military helicopter. It was flying over my house over in this general area over here last night. It was freaky. And somebody out there was saying that was probably a helicopter trying to find somebody, trying to help the police on the ground round somebody up. I don't know. So, but that was just really weird. It sounded like Erie with a helicopter coming over my house. Like, hey, we're here to pick you up from your Ice Age TV YouTube videos of mouthing off. Yeah, in today's world, yeah, it wouldn't surprise you, right? So, anyways, so the worst car experience I ever had was this Lustine Dodge. And I kind of knew they were shady, but they're shady. Shady as all get out. And so, from coming out of my challenging times in my life and trying to rebuild my credit, it wasn't easy. And so I go to the dealership, and there's a beautiful Ram 3500 white, brand new mega cab. And it's a beautiful truck. And I had a red Toyota Tundra extended cab that I traded in for that truck. And a young lady there did the deal, and I was blown away. She got the deal done. And I was like, wow, you got the deal done. I'm like, I am so impressed because I haven't really been able to buy anything per se. Toyota was the only ones that was giving me cars because I was so loyal to them through my hard times. The bird out there, that damn thing's about driving me nuts. What about you? That thing's loud. Wow. So we'll come in here to get some quietness. But anyways, so at that dealership, I questioned her honesty of getting the deal done. So I gave her like money. I put money down, and I gave him the truck. But I said, "You're sure this deal's done?" She's like, "Yeah, it's done." I'm like, "It's done." She's like, "It's done." I'm like, "I don't want to take this truck home if you're not sure." Because I just really had this kind of instinct to me that she's not being truthful to me, and she claims that it's done. So I signed paperwork, and I take the truck home. And oh my gosh, I brought that truck home, and my mother and father were in town at that time, and now they're upset because here I am coming out of my challenging years of buying so many things so many years ago, and then I'm getting back in the routine again of buying trucks and cars again. And so they're very concerned about that, and it turns into a major blowout argument. That truck was never meant to be. Well, anyways, I have the truck, and it's like a month goes by, and my tags have expired, so I call them up to get my tags. And like, well, we got to give you another 30-day tags. I'm like, why? Well, we haven't finished the paperwork. I'm like, what do you mean I haven't finished the paperwork? She's like, well, we're still talking to the bank. I'm like, what? You're still talking to the bank? What are you talking about? And then the young lady is like, well, we're still trying to get the deal funded. I'm like, oh, wait a second. This is all wrong. You should take the truck back today then. No, no, no. We're going to get it resolved. We're going to get it resolved. We got a bank that's going to buy the deal. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not making this stuff up. 2 months go by. Tags run out again. I go back. Same story. And this young lady's playing this game of, oh, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. I'm like, you're not getting it done. This is ridiculous. Take the truck back. So now we're into the 3rd month with this truck. And now the truck has like 4,000 miles on it, 5,000 miles on it. And it's a great truck. I love the truck. But I just know this deal's not going to go down. So it comes to a point where I go to the dealership, I walk in, and I tell the guys at the dealership, you need to take the truck back. And they're like, what's going on? I'm like, the finance girl can't get the money done. And they're like, okay. So then they just disappear, and they disappear. And so then I stand around forever, and they ignore me. And so eventually I'm like, I'm out. I leave. So now I'm like, all right, this is beyond believable. And my truck is sitting in the back lot, which they haven't put up for sale yet because they can't, because they know the deal hasn't gone down. So it's just sitting there in the back lot. And I'm like, just give me my key to my truck and I'll leave. So they wouldn't do that. So now about another week went by. I said, okay, I know how to fix this. So now I drive back down there and I said, where is the manager of this dealership? And it was hard to even get the guy to come out to talk to me. So the guy comes out. I'm like, let me share something with you. I'm going to go to Florida, and when this truck comes back, it's going to have 10,000 miles on it. So I know the laws of Virginia. Once this vehicle hits 8,000 miles, it becomes a used truck. So here's your options. Give me my red Tundra truck back. I'll give you the white truck back to you, and it's all good. And I'm out. It's all good. You can have your truck back, but if you don't do that, I'm taking this to Florida. You may not see it again. It may just stay down there. So give me my truck back. And you know what? It took all of that for finding the manager to go in the back room, come out, give you my truck keys, and leave. Oh, it was the worst. And that young finance girl, she was the worst. So that was one of the worst buying experiences that I had ever of me buying a vehicle. I'm sure there's other people out there that can share stories more like, well, I bought a vehicle and it wasn't what it was. It was a piece of junk. It was a lemon. There's other stories. Well, you know, through watching my channel, I bought an Indian Pursuit. And you witnessed how long it took me to get Indian to finally bend and take the bike back after just going through months and months of me turning into the guinea pig for them to try to figure out what's wrong with that bike. And I think because of my social media presence, and I think because I buy so many motorcycles, and from the owner down there knowing me personally, and even Indian point blank told me, the key guy that made the decision, he told me I was like the only second or third person in the whole world they've ever done this for. And he's well abreast to what's going on. Yeah. So I would have to say in the motorcycle end, that was probably one of my worst motorcycle experiences because I bought a bike that was not right. And so then you talk about the worst, and that's what I talk about all the time. It's incredible about where we are in today's society. The main theme, the underlying theme in our country, social media, you can even say the world, but the main theme seems to be the worst case scenario. All you see is the worst case scenario. And when Trump was in office, all you heard was the worst case scenario of what Donald Trump would do to the world. He put us in world wars. He's a danger to society. He'd be pushing the nuclear button. He would be in war with North Korea. He would create a war. And so you always heard the worst case scenario when Trump was in office. Now with Joe Biden in office, you hear, from the other side, it's always the opposing views of what things is right versus wrong. But all you hear is the worst case scenarios in some ways have played out because we are in wars. The illegal immigration is through the roof. Inflation's through the roof. But at the same time, with all the dire straits and the worst case scenario, the stock market's hit 40,000. Beyond believable. The stock market, but some very high profile Wall Street trader guy is saying that Dow really doesn't have the reality to what's really going on in the country. Yeah, did you hear me? Which that's hard to believe. But this one Wall Street journalist who's a big time stock trader and a stock expert, he wrote a whole article in great depth, and I'm not the stock guy, that's saying the 40K doesn't have any substance to it, to the reality, to really the state of the times of what's really going on in the economy. I mean, is that hard to believe? It's hard to believe, but you're going through economic indicators through select stocks that have driven the to 40K. You know, you got the NVIDIA, where that company's stock has gone through the roof. All the artificial intelligence stocks, the chips, all that type of stuff has driven, you know, they're the hot stocks. And then the copper, the gold, the commodities. So this is just individuals just kind of commenting that don't get all caught up because the stock market's at 40K, that everything's beautiful and everything's going to continue to get bigger and better. And that's the whole point. The whole message through most of the media and through so many YouTubers is the constant rhetoric of the worst case scenario. And I talk about this on my channel all the time, that the big YouTubers that get all the attention are always the constant rhetoric of the worst case scenario. And I share with you all the time on how you got the guy out there walking around showing all these car dealerships with too much inventory, so it's the worst case scenario. These dealerships are going to go out of business. The car industry is in a shambles. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But the underlying message consistently is always about the worst case scenario. And you think about what sticks in your mind when you think of a big ship, of the worst case scenario, getting on a big cruise ship called the Titanic. Yeah. How many people back in the day thought, well, what's the worst case? What's the worst case thing can happen? What about the people that are in the Hindenburg of the air disaster? Well, what's the worst case scenario of what could happen, right? I mean, isn't that, and that's how us humans operate. What's the worst case that could come out of, you buying yet another vehicle, Mr. Iceman, besides going broker than broke and losing things? Yeah, right. As you try to build a YouTube channel that doesn't pay for any of this stuff by any means. As I consistently share with you all my antics, my ideas, my views. And so what's the underlying message more than ever in our country and society? It's the worst. It's Elon Musk is mouthing off on how there's not enough babies. I talked about that on Wednesday about babies and how the world population, the worst case scenario is that the world population is not going to stay, it's not staying up to progress because the ladies aren't having enough babies. What's the worst case scenario that I talk about all the time on my Ice Age TV is, all you hear from the green agenda, the green activists, is that the Ice Age is the worst because it's ruining the Mother Nature Earth. And we have to get rid of these internal combustion engine vehicles because they're the worst. They're destroying the environment. I mean, right? I mean, do you hear these conversations? You hear the conversation that I talk about artificial intelligence, that the OpenAI, all this artificial intelligence coming along, and all these supercomputers now being put in all these data centers, the grid, the electrical, the energy power isn't going to be there to be able to maintain this if they don't start building out more electrical or more power to, more energy to power these data centers. So they're already talking about the worst case scenario is that all these big data centers are going to start creating the rolling blackouts and the more expensive energy. I mean, so once again, what is the underlying message? It's the worst. Why are people coming from other countries seeking asylum here? Because their presentation is their country is the worst. They've come to our country for us to pick up the pieces for all their problems from their country because their country's the worst. But which in so many ways is creating hardships in our country that'll make it worse. I mean, are you sick of me hearing saying this stuff? But if you really step back and think about what's the underlying message, and so many people will say the same thing, it's the fear factor. It's we're living in society and a governing body more than ever that it does want the fear factor more than ever. It wants you to think that you should suck your thumb and look to the big guys to take care of all your problems because they're going to share with you that the worst is yet to come. And then if you have the Republican versus the Democrat, one person will support this person versus other person will support that person, and they'll just talk about it's the worst. That person's the worst person in the world. I can't stand that person. And then that, the political powers to be that then make laws and rules, and once again, it's all because it's about, if we don't do this, this is the worst that things can happen. Oh my gosh, right? Are you sick of hearing it? I don't blame you. It's just, wow. The worst conversations. And what does Kiefer think? All he thinks about is he wants another ball. So what am I going to do to this? I really don't want to do the big baggers on it. Yeah, he'll stick my foot in my mouth. Nah. Then it's hard to get off on that bike. It really is. I think I just had a little small panniers. That would be cool. Or just something. It's never ending spending money. Oh, yeah. And here's the MBRP in the garage. I've got a mac and cheese lunchtime date out there with Max Custom exhaust. And I'm going to take this out there to have them put the new MBRP exhaust on it. I'm tempted to take the Ram, have my daughter follow me in the Ram, and do something to this as well. If he has some time, get some more noise out of that vehicle. So that would be pretty cool. And as far as the Colorado Bison, it's a really cool truck. And I think some people are like, you can't take the rocker wheels off and take the look away from it. Yeah, but I'm telling you what, getting out of this truck, it's a very, very tall truck. It really is. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, man, until you get in and out of it. And that's the thing, when I work out of this truck, some people are like, well, drive a different vehicle. Well, I get all that. I don't disagree. But you know what? The Rhino things aren't radically expensive. It can definitely be a how-to video of me sharing the fun of me putting this on the vehicle. Then the look of it, I mean, I think the things can even look even beefier and higher because you're going to lose that whole rock rail down there. And you're going to literally, I think it's just look a lot cleaner. And it'll make the truck look like it's that much higher. Just like my dually over here. If you had these steps down, that truck doesn't look as high. Just like the Ram, in so many ways, it would be cool to get rid of the permanent side steps and put on the retractable steps. But that's another project. Just more money. And yeah, and what's the worst case scenario of all that, right? And then here's the next thing on the EV age. And I think it's very apparent what's the worst thing that could happen. Well, it's played out. For Ford Motor Company, for Tesla, the desire for all these electric vehicles is waning. So these vehicles have lost values, and even to the point that I think many, many people are now focused on the worst case scenario, meaning that they're sitting on the backside saying, I really don't want to go risk buying an electric car because they lose their value. And that's the worst thing you can do is go buy a car that takes a dramatic hit and loses value. And so I think people are being smart, and I think that's why the EV purchasing has slowed down. It hasn't stopped though, because like at Coons Baltimore Ford, mostly all of their leftover 23 F-150 Lightning trucks are gone for the most part. All of their leftover Mustang Mach-E's, like the GTs, they're gone. They still have some premiums, but all these 23 vehicles, they are slowly moving off the lots. But once again, but it's with big discounts. But even at that, even if you go to get an F-150 Lightning 23, and if it's priced at $81,000, even if you get 20 grand off and it's 61, and then you pay tax and this and that on it, sincerely, you go to trade it in, you're going to be in the $40,000 range. I mean, it's going to take a 20 grand hit. How do I know? It's going to take at least 10 or 15, because right now this Ford Lightning truck over here, I mean, I'm stuck. I'm stuck with this thing. Is it at the end of the world? It's not. It's not. But I talk about it all the time. The worst case scenario is if the Middle East gets ratcheted up much more than it already is, and it gets radical, and they start blowing up fuel terminals or whatever may start playing out, and then the gas shortage starts to play out. I've said it a gazillion times. Yeah, the worst case scenario is that everybody and brother is going to be wanting these electric vehicles. And then the irony is, since Ford and so many have pulled back on producing these, and then the so-called flood of the market of EV vehicles will dissipate, and then people will be like, oh man, I should have bought that EV vehicle, because now the fuel shortage just sucks. Apparently Elon Musk out there in California, he has like, he has just thousands and thousands, like he overbuilt like 45,000 Teslas. That number could be off, but for Elon Musk, what's the worst case scenario? It seems in some ways the Tesla brand is being challenged, and I think it comes down to a lot of him exposing himself to who he is, and a lot of other variables that are going on. And what's the worst case scenario for this country is China somehow gets their inexpensive electric vehicles into this country by bypassing, using other countries like Mexico to use their products. Here's a good story for you though. So if you watch that Cybertruck reveal where they had a 911 Porsche race with a trailer in a 911. So if anybody remembers that, Elon Musk had them hook up a trailer with a 911 Porsche on the back of it, and they had a race against a 911. So basically a 911 was racing the Cybertruck with a Cybertruck pulling a 911 on a trailer. And so Elon Musk said that, watch this, and people witnessed how listen to this word, how he worded this, at a quarter mile track, it beat the 911. Oh, breaking news. There's this one guy out there, he's a really cool guy, real tall, lanky guy that does all the engineering statistics and facts, and he likes to break everything down by using all the geometry, algebra, trigonometry, whatever you want to say, all the stuff that engineers would use. And so he was so intrigued by that claim because he's using the weight of the Cybertruck, the horsepower, the weight of the 911, the weight of the trailer, the resistance, blah, 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 blah. So he went out of his way, another guy went out of his way, and another individual to bring a Cybertruck with the exact same trailer and similar car, and then a 911 similar vehicle. And for the record, it's the slowest 911 in production. So the vehicle that raced that Cybertruck is a manual 911T, and it's the slowest produced 911 car. So they went to the track and they raced, and come to find out, it's a bunch of malarkey. Elon Musk misled the people because the race was an 1/8 mile. It was an 1/8 mile race. It was not a quarter mile race. So there was never a quarter mile race. So they did the testing of over and over again. They did 6 runs of this 911 versus the Cybertruck using the exact same vehicles, and over again, for the most part, the 911 beat the Cybertruck. So Elon Musk basically pulled the wool over everybody's eyes for what the real facts are. But anybody out there, I'm sure they'd be like, well, it's pretty impressive what that Cybertruck did. Yeah, they say that in this video. It's on YouTube if you look it up, and you'll see what goes on. It's pretty intriguing, but it just goes to show how Elon isn't a magician. Elon Musk is a magician. I think we should take the Ram truck over to Max and get the exhaust done.
Yeah.
I think you should follow me over.
Yeah.
How about that idea?
I'd love that.
I know. All right, get in the office and figure out what's going on for today so we know where we're going.
Do you mind if I dry my hair?
Go ahead.
I'll be 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. I just wanted to be early.
Yeah, that's fine. So anyways, so good old Elon Musk, I say it all the time, he's the master. He's a magician. He's a master of letting you think you see something that what he wants you to think it is, but it's not. Who knows these stories? All right, that's it. I can talk a lot. So yeah, what's the next adventure? Well, it's going to be mac and cheese. Mac and cheese, the bison getting the exhaust on it. Does it really sound that much different? I don't know. I mean, what do you think? But I don't know. See, is there a resonator delete in there? So we take that out? Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm taking the Mac. Could I do it? I could. But you know what you learn when you start working these vehicles that are high up off the ground? Though your body posture to get to things is so much more of a challenge. You do like a half a sit-up to take things apart. Until you do that, you don't get it. I mean, it's very challenging, very tough. If you're watching my video yesterday, we had to use the wheel, the spare tire, and we had to loop through the actual wheel to make it work. Jack was really cool on how he got this bike in here yesterday. It was so cool, and I was able to bring it home. Well, where am I going to park it? Yeah. I hear you. Should just put. Oh, one thing I thought of this morning. I thought to myself, you know, growing up, I always thought to myself, I'd live in a trailer. I would live in a camper or a single, wide by wide, whatever you want to call these things, trailer. I would live in one of those things with all my fancy cars all day long, and pass up the big ass house. And I thought to myself this morning when I was showering, well, I think I accomplished that. I'm living out of a camper with all these freaking cars. Way too many cars. You know, so for the average person, they're like, this guy's crazy. He could have a beautiful McMansion house and property, but instead the guy pisses all his money away on all these freaking cars and trucks and motorcycles. But that's what I want. That's what I enjoy. I don't enjoy going and sitting inside a house. I don't sit in that house. Who the hell wants to do that? I don't know. I mean, just for me, I don't get it. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, but you know, to each his own, and that's why I say many people are gonna be like, this guy here, what the hell is wrong with this guy? You know, but yeah, I'm living out of the camper with all my fancy cars and trucks and toys. The Whipple Supercharger is gonna be in like next Wednesday. I have to be here to sign off on it, and wow, will that be a story? I know the Lethal Performance, Jerry's already done that. And so, but I don't want to watch it because it'll just irritate me that much more to have mine. So there you go. And yeah, the Corvette, it needs loving. Need to get this front splitter fixed, which, yeah, I need to drive. And yeah, there's the monkey. Yeah, I know. Have I gone to the monkeys? Yeah, I've gone to Africa. I mean, it's all kind of coming together, right, everybody? I got an Africa twin. I got a monkey. I mean, yeah, I'm going to the monkeys, man. They'll be shipping me off. They will. Hopefully not. I don't know. Last night I thought the helicopter guy was coming here to pick me up. You know what I mean? So there you go. What are we doing? So we'll stay tuned for the, and you know what? The pool's got to get put up and built. Jeez. So stay tuned for the mac and cheese Chevy Colorado Bison Adventures midday. So as always, thanks for watching my channel. Appreciate all the support. Nice comments. Share it. Hope everybody has a blessed day. Don and Ginny are going to the Amish country, I think, if I heard them right, to get some quality time, some subtle time, some peace time. You need that. You got to escape from what you're doing just to break out of the mold. And that's what it's all about. That's cars and trucks and motorcycles. That's how it gives me. That's my escape. So God bless. Have a great day.